And both my grandparents, I mean, I was with them in my, like talking to them in my journey. And they said, now we get to be with you all the time. We're actually with you all the time now. Whereas when we were in a body, we couldn't be with you all the time because there's separation and there's distance and there's time and there's space. In this realm, there is no time and space.
So, first off, I just have to say this, just so you understand. First, she just literally sat on my boy, poor Murphy's head. She sat on his head, and she knew she was doing it, number one. And two, if you watched our last video about ketamine and the K-hole, well, I know that might have been 1 or 2 weeks ago. Well, that wasn't. That was literally 2 minutes ago. She just decided to change. I decided I'm not going to. I don't wear this every day, but it's still whatever day it is today. It's a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday. So there you go. There's the little entry into the video. And now let's begin. What are we talking about?
Today we're talking about, we're like in a laughy mood, even though I feel like this is a more somber subject. Maybe it doesn't have to be.
Well,
so we're talking about ketamine and healing grief.
Oh, this is the best.
How somebody who has experienced loss of any kind or is currently experiencing grief, how the ketamine journey can help in this process. And as somebody that has had a relationship, very close relationship with death and dying and people dying, I think that someone will have
Is that me?
to say about this.
I'm trying to hold back.
Yes.
No, in all seriousness, of somebody that has dealt with, survivor's guilt and grief, listen, we all do, whether it's our grandparents when we're little kids and we all go through a grief process. It's just life, right?
You can experience grief from a relationship.
You can release it from a job. So grief takes on many different factors, I guess you could say.
Roles.
In this way, we're talking about human grief. I believe it is the number one stealer of joy in this world. It really truly is, because when you and I have people out there, and hopefully they're watching this, that have lost children, they have lost spouses, they have lost people in their lives that were such a huge role model and maybe such a huge impact on their life. And how do I go on without my spouse? How do I go on without my child? And that the amount of compassion I have for those people, because I know that there's always guilt tied to it. No matter what a percentage, there's some. What if I did this? What, I should have done this. I should have been more aware. I should have known that he was struggling. I should have known that his breathing wasn't right. Whatever that is, we hold that guilt, and then, our joy is kind of stolen from us, because how can we be joyful? How can we be happy? How can we live a life when they're not here anymore? And I have lived that, and it is a very, very difficult thing. But again, being me, I kind of look at it as I need to tackle this so I can help somebody else move through it as well, to be an example. I like doing that, right? And that becomes the bigger pull. So when ketamine, came into our existence, into our lives, first it was meditation, then breath work came into it, and that all helped to open up the vault, so to speak, right? Because we love to hold that grief, we love to hold doubt, we love to hold guilt in our bodies, and as long as you hold it, you're going to experience it. That's what your experience is going to be. So the whole object to live better after the loss of somebody is to let go of that grief. And maybe for the first, there's no time limit, to hold that grief, but then to start letting that grief out. But sometimes we've held it so long, it's just stuck, and we don't necessarily know what to do. So meditation's a great step for that. Sometimes talk therapy helps too, but that can also trap it even more sometimes, because you're always talking about it. Yeah. So, what you talk about persists, right? So meditation is always good. Breath work's always good because it gets your body out of that fight or flight response, and she can tell you all about that. Not today. But the thing that when I had that experience with ketamine, it immediately, the thing in my mind was when I came out of the experience was, I finally have something that can cure grief. And I mean cure it. Because where you go is where that energy is. So what is that energy? That is your loved one. That is the one that you are missing. And in some divine way, some magical power way, you are connected with the energy that they are. And you realize that where they are is love. They are in a energy, a frequency of love. And you meet them to where they're almost talking to you. There you can feel them, you can smell them, you can be a part of their life, and they get to tell you, you can come visit me anytime you want. Because I'm always with you. And to have that experience, to have that moment where that clarity comes that you get to take home with you, I promise you, what that does for your life is just astounding. It relieves you from this duty of, I must feel this guilt, I must feel this grief, because I have to be in pain because they are in pain. I promise you, they are not in pain. They are free from the pain. And what do they want for you? To be free from it too. We've witnessed it. We've watched it. We watched it in our own lives. We've watched it in our retreats, watching people go through that process, and to watch that grief being pulled out of them, literally pulled out of them. So if that is you, I cannot say.
Did that distract you?
It did distract me. You have ruined my role.
The heater gets loud in the background.
It gets loud? Well, I don't know where I was. You just distracted me. You restracted me.
Maybe because secretly I wanted something to say.
Come back. If any of this describes who you are, whether, with loss of a parent, been there. I've lost all my parents. Loss of a friend, been there, done that. Loss of a child. I cannot sympathize more. Loss of a spouse. I could not sympathize more. I can't imagine the pain that you must be in. I beg you to please search this out. If it's not our retreat you come to, please find one. Because what it will do for your life and what it will do for your health and what it will do for your emotional state it is the one thing that will open that door finally. It'll open the door so you can breathe again, so you can see sun again, so you can live life again. I promise you, they would not want you to be in pain. They would not. But we do it anyway. We do it anyway. So there. Is that the end of the video? I think that pretty much summed it all up.
This is why we take turns on doing videos.
This is why you sit on my poor dog's head.
And videos separate.
Murph, I know. I'm upset with her too, Bo.
No, there's just two things I want to say to that. Well, actually one thing, and then I want to share a quick personal story and then a story of somebody else that was at our retreat. I think if you break down grief is a sense of loss. If we're talking grief and a loved one or someone close to you has died, let's say, right? And you're experiencing grief because you're like, I don't have them anymore. They're gone and I'm here, right? It is the ultimate state of separation. Grief is like the ultimate state of separation. I am separate from this person that's gone. What the ketamine journey does for you and how we use it at our retreats or our at-home ketamine therapy is that we give you a frame of reference that this ketamine journey and experience, this technology is actually going to help you see truth beyond the separation of here is Scott, here is M, we're two separate people. If he dies, I no longer have him. What ketamine does is, like he said, it taps you into what is really real. It taps you into energy, like he said, of love, where they live. And if you can tap into that and experience the truth of that with them, you are never separate from them. You no longer then can experience the separation of it. You can only experience the oneness of them. The story I want to share was actually, this is what happened to me at the retreat we went to. which was kind of cool because he actually was experiencing something similar in his journey right next to me. But my grandpa had died just about a month or two before we went. My grandma died, gosh, now I think it's like 15 years ago, close to. And then my grandma or my grandpa had died about a month or two before the retreat. They were like my earth angels. They were everything to me. My grandma was my everything. My grandpa, they were pure love to me. They were home to me. Even though I wasn't like in active grief with my grandpa, I'd always heard Abraham Hicks talk about when Esther lost Jerry, that Esther actually felt more closer to Jerry in some ways. And I couldn't understand that. Like, I really could never understand that until we went to the ketamine journey on the second day. And both my grandparents, I mean, I was with them in my, like talking to them in my journey. And they said, now we get to be with you all the time. We're actually with you all the time now. Whereas when we were in a body, we couldn't be with you all the time because there's separation and there's distance and there's time and there's space. In this realm, there is no time and space. There is no separation. You are me, I am you. We are all energy. And so we're here all the time. And I talked with both of them. They shared some wisdom with me on some questions I had been asking myself and some of the reasons why we went to the ketamine retreat. They gave me the answers to that so that I could then integrate the actions into my everyday life. But I knew without a doubt they were there with me. And still to this day, that was in June, I know in a second when I think of them, I can feel both of them on either side of me. I know there isn't any distance. How can you experience grief when you can still feel this right next to you? You know you are not separate from it. And I think that's really why ketamine, why this technology is so powerful specifically with people who are experiencing grief, because grief is the ultimate separate. You're separate from source, God, energy, love. Yeah. Ketamine brings you to that so that you're not separate.
And I know there'll be the skeptics out there that'll say, yeah, well, you're under the influence of ketamine. So yeah, you're also a flying monkey at the same time. Right. And true. But the reason why we say this is the ultimate truth is because the exact same experience that she described being connected with her grandparents is the exact same situation I had with my best friend who drowned, who I thought I was the reason that he drowned, right? So it was, for me, it was, sure, grief was there, but it was more of a survivor's guilt. He would be alive if it wasn't for me. Right. And that's a lot of pressure on somebody. And there's a lot of people that have that in this world. I had that experience. I was not under any substance at all. I was at a Dr. Joe 7-day retreat, and I went into that meditation, and I had that experience of they were talking to me. My best buddies who were not any longer on this earth were talking to me, and they were saying, all you need to do is raise your frequency so you can touch our frequency. We're just up here. You just need to come up here and we can come down a bit, and then bam, you touch us and we can fill you in. We can download information into you. And then there's higher than us. So ketamine is the ultimate truth. It is truth of who you really are. It is truth of the power that really exists in you. So when you start to realize that and you have that journey, you realize you've never been separate from those that you lost. You're still not separate from those that you lost. It is just your perception that makes you believe that you are separate from them. They're just waiting for you to raise your frequency so they can come visit. It really is that simple. And when she says you kind of sit with them, you're sitting with them. You're having a conversation with them. You're having an experience with them because, again, you have removed your ego out of the way to where you can raise your vibration to meet them where they are. And I will tell you right now, I've watched it. We're talking about people that have lost children that have attended our retreats, that can finally feel what it feels like to be alive again, to finally feel that resistance to love again, because they're terrified to love, because you lost the one thing you loved most in this world. And now, right? So when you realize that you're intrinsically love, you can never lose love because you can never lose yourself. When you know that, you bring it back with you. Yeah. The journeys last an hour, but the effects of the journey last a lifetime. And it constantly reminds you, oh, remember what you experienced? Because I remember that day I still remember it like it was yesterday when I was in, I don't know when that was, 2018, whatever, 17, 19, I don't know. When I was in that workshop and that conversation that I had, I remember it. It was the most impactful, one of the most impactful moments in my entire life because it was real. It happened.
Yeah.
Somebody can tell me, oh, well, you did this and all that, and that's just bull. It happened. And I will fight you down. I will bring you down.
I mean, you want to talk about a healing experience, you know, for those of you that may be going, cuckoo, cuckoo. All I have to say to that is, let's just say none of it is real, but the peace that it brings you is
true.
Real. So no
That's
matter
very good.
no matter what,
there you go.
You walk away with a peace,
yes.
with a knowingness and a connection. And you know, that day that I was having that journey at that retreat and hanging out with my grandparents, he was right next to me experiencing my grandpa in his journey. So if that doesn't tell you that there's something going on beyond our rational explanation for everything, that there's something greater going on, that this is a technology given to us, we believe, from somewhere else that knows better than we know, that it's giving you access to realms that you can't access in your normal, ordinary state of consciousness, that, you know, that's been our experience. And the other story quick story I want to tell was one of the people that came to our retreat in Taos in November. She'd actually just lost 2 of her dogs days before she came. And so she was in intense grief with that. Those of you that are animal owners, we all know when you lose an animal, it is like losing a family member. It absolutely, it's
a piece of yourself, because that's the one that you love the most, because they accept you no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. So she was, you know, she was a little concerned, like, I'm really dealing with this grief, and I just want to make sure I can participate. And anyway, on the very last day, she had a similar experience where both her dogs came to her and her journey, and they showed her how amazing it was where they were at. And they told her, we want you to live life. Like, go live life. That is the message. That's the meaning of being here, is to live life. And a month later, she ended up having a last minute opportunity for her and her husband to go to Europe for a month and a half. And she went. She went and she stayed in Europe because, you know, that's what this medicine does, you know, go live life. And that's what she did after.
Well, and to add to that story, we have our little precious Murphy that she almost just killed a second ago by sitting on his head. He's a therapy dog, and he does the retreats with us. And it's funny because when people come, you know, the first night and he gets to meet them, he goes apeshit. He loves people. Yeah, we try not to have him jump on people. He does, because he's so excited. But then when that music goes on, you know, the next day when it's journey day and that music goes on, it switches. He shuts down, and he just sits and observes and watches. And during this one, she was all the way in the back of the room. She was one of the very last people, and I usually keep him on a leash. And I usually just sit up at the front, and he usually sits with me, lays in front of her. And he got up and he wanted to move. And I, as you know, a good steward of medicine and dog, I let him go. And he went right up to that woman, and he laid down, and he put his head on her leg. And when she came out of the journey, he was there, and she just lost it. And she's like, oh my God, he knows. So that's the thing. It's not what you're going to see. It's what haven't you seen? You know, maybe Murphy saw those dogs there, and he knew that she needed him in that moment. You know, we always hear the stories of dogs barking at nothing there, right? Maybe there is something there. Maybe you don't see it, right? Or, you know, a child saying, oh, well, they're right there, and you looking and you don't see them. It's not what you're going to see. Maybe it's going to reveal what's been there all this time that you haven't been able to see because you've been locked up in your head instead of your heart. That's the object. We want to get you out of your head.
Object.
The object of the game. The
objective?
The object of the game. This is my video. You're watching my channel. You can hear my words. I don't say it that way. I don't care. Maybe it's your fault for hearing that that way, and you being
I don't think so. I think
and very
I'm
judgmental
absolutely
of my
right
words.
and right in judging you.
Very
for
judgmental of my
not
words.
using the correct punctuation
Terminology.
and terminology.
Anyway, the objective of this game is to just be free.
Yeah.
You know, the objective is to get out of your head and into your heart. Stop thinking and feel.
Yeah.
Feel into your heart. Feel what love feels like. To open. Yeah. So many of us, we have worked with so many people that are so terrified to open their heart because they've been hurt. And we understand that. And it's a process. It can take a week. It can take a year. It can take 3 years. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It's just a matter that you're doing it, right? So it's courageous to open your heart. It's courageous to open it up and be seen for your, you know, your worst mess that you are, with the tears and the muck and all that, and the what do we call them? What do we call that?
I don't know that we call them anything.
We call them the shitters when you do that. The shitters. Yeah. You know, again, we're afraid to show our true selves, our deepest selves. A dog will share that with, because you know the dog's not going to come back at you and say, well, that looks stupid. You know what I mean? They accept us for who we are. So be brave. Be, you know, to step out and to be seen for who you are, and not this fake person that you think you have to be. And ultimately, that fake person lives in your head, that you have to be seen as successful. You have to be seen as having it all together. Listen, we all, as I say all the time, we all fuck up. We do. You have to. If you're not screwing shit up, you're not living life. You got to fall down. You don't just put somebody on a bike, on a two-wheeler, and say, you know, get on it and go. And if you fall, you're never going to do it again. Or a baby that's just learning to walk. If you fall, you're never going to walk. Listen, you're going to fall. You have to fall, because it's the courage to get up, and it's the courage to step into what that life can be for you. And again, this is just another tool to do it. If meditation hasn't gotten you there, if breath work hasn't gotten you there, well, your next grade to go into may be to use this technology to where it opens the door for you, so you can finally let that love in, because you just may be too scared to.
Yeah. So as he said in the very beginning, if you're somebody that is experiencing grief in your life, whether you come to one of our retreats or not, we would highly recommend this experience for you in whatever way that you can find that. Because we believe it's a really healing process, especially if you're experiencing grief. So our next retreat is in Taos, New Mexico, May 30th to June 3rd. The next one will be in September in Taos after that as well. So links will be in the comments below. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. Yeah.
But
and
are we going to be doing?
You
got another costume change?
I
We're going to do
never
another
say
video.
this, but if this video helped, or you know somebody that this video helped, share it with them.
Yeah, please share it with them, and comment down. Listen, we're not robots. We're not AI. We're real people. And we love having conversations with people. We love to participate with people. We love to know what people are going through. We love to know, because listen, we've been through it. Yeah. And, you know, look at how lucky she is to have this amazing person sitting next to her. She created that. I created it too. You could say I'm pretty good.
We will end it on that note.
Wait, I'm supposed to...
No more costume changes.
Yeah, that's it. Next time we're going to do it from where?
See you next time. Love you.